It was a rainy night, looking gloomy in the dark. In a nearby mansion, a person named Gudem is listening to the radio and smoke a cigar while lounging in a recliner beneath a massive chandelier. He started talking to himself. Oh man, no matter what, Bengali songs are always the best, and began humming along with the song. He was enjoying his time when suddenly his friend Thomas showed up, running towards him in a hurry, extremely terrified. Gautam looked at him, glancing at this face, and states, "Fucking hell. I know that when you see ghosts, your eyes will instantly activate like a cat's eyes, but this time it looks more insane. Don't you try to check yourself in the mirror?" With tension in his voice, Thomas said,
"Now is not the time to talk about my eyes. We have a bigger problem. The ghost we sealed has gone."
Gautam doubtfully queries, "Define gone?" Thomas replied,
"Released, set free, unsealed, unleashed. Everything. That ghost left the mansion. We don't have much time."
Gautam calmed himself down and muttered, "Capturing that ghost was the hardest part of our lives. And now it's been released. Man, it's a hell of a pain in the head." Thomas spilled more information.
"The thing is not about that ghost, but before leaving, that ghost set free of all ghosts in the mansion by breaking every photo frame."
Gautam started sweating. "You're saying that we must seize every ghost and imprison them in their picture frames? Excellent. My whole plan of taking rest is forever. We can't even be sure that we can pull it off. Will we even be alive? Wait, why am I getting a doubt that this won't be an easy task? Am I missing any terms and conditions here?" Questions, Gautam. Thomas took a swig of whiskey to calm himself.
"Once the spirits leave the frames, they lose their purpose and resolve. They hold blank memories. It makes them even more powerful and dangerous. They might kill innocents."
Gautam replied, "You bet. We don't have any more options than meeting him." Thomas doubtedly asks,
"Me too,"
Gautam replies. Well, this problem is huge and needs the one who knows the roots of these ghosts," Thomas answered.
"My dad, I thought you hated him,"
Gautam proclaimed. "Well, we've put ourselves in such a shitty situation. So that is the only option we've got. So let's get out of here real quick and put an end to these spirits." Following Gautam, Thomas left the mansion to meet his father. Very far away from this mansion, another story unfolds. A family consisting of 9 people, along with their driver, set out on a trip to visit pilgrimages in a minivan. After completing their darshan, they set off for their hometown. It was completely dark and raining pellets of ice. The rain became so intense that it was impossible for the driver to focus on the road. He advised the family to stay overnight at a nearby hotel and move on the next day as early as possible. To make matters worse, the minivan's headlights had stopped working. In the minivan, a 9-year-old kid named Arav noticed a sign that read, "Resident Hotel nearby, 2 miles to the left." He immediately informed the driver, and they decided to head to the hotel. After some time, they noticed the hotel, but it appeared abandoned, although the lights were still on. Despite this, they decided to stay as the weather was getting worse. Suida, Araf's mother, advised against staying there because she had a bad feeling about it. However, the old grandfather insisted he could no longer sit in the van in the same posture and needed a bed to rest. His waist was giving him trouble, and everyone was so exhausted that their only choice was to go inside and relax. Glass doors welcomed them in, and the interior was immaculate. When the driver went to make a reservation, he didn't see anyone at the reception desk. Then they heard a booming sound from the wall clock at precisely midnight. Tung, tung, tung. The abrupt noise scared the hell out of them. Suddenly, all the lights in the hotel went out, plunging everything into pitch darkness. The children, already scared of the dark, clung to their parents. The dust everywhere seemed to amplify the eerie atmosphere, making the place feel even more unsettling. Arun Sweta's husband and his brother Arjun took the luggage. They all moved further inside to look for a place to spend the night. Then they observed that the lights in room 205 were on and bright. Initially, Arun and Arjun checked the entire room. Seeing nothing unusual, they assumed it was safe to take a break here. They all entered the room to rest. Due to their extreme fatigue, grandfather and grandmother retired to bed. The driver went looking for another room to sleep in. Lakshmi, Arjun's wife, and Sweta were attempting to get their kids to fall asleep. Arav, Dev, and Nidhi were restless. Dev is the son of Arjun and Lakshmi, while Arav and Nidhi are the children of Arun and Sweta. Dev turned on the TV. Nidhi tried to watch YouTube on her mom's phone, but it didn't work, so she gave it to her mom. Sweta explained that there was no signal. Lakshmi chastised Dev for not turning off the TV as the grandparents slept. But Dev didn't pay any heed. Dev caught sight of an odd woman seated in a chair covered in blood on the TV. Her wet hair covered her face, and her eyes looked menacing. The pupils were tiny yet intense. Dev fixated on the woman. There were unsettling noises coming from the TV. He tried to use the remote to turn up the volume, but it didn't work. Dev moved closer to the TV speaker and placed his ear near it. The blood-stained woman mumbled, laughed evilly, and said,
"You all gonna die today? I want to eat your brain. Does it taste good?"
Dev tried to tell his mother, Lakshmi, saying,
Mom? On TV, I heard something. The woman on TV looks scary and is saying that she'll kill us. She's covered in blood, Mom.
Dev spat out everything he observed, but his eyes revealed more terror than his words. His mother replied,
Are you insane? You watch too much TV these days. Turn it off and get some sleep.
Dev moved back to face the TV to show her, but suddenly it started to glitch. Fearful, Dev became agitated and turned off the TV. After some time, the driver knocked on the door. "Sorry, sir, but may I use the restroom?" "There are no lights outside," he asked. With their permission, he went to the restroom. Arjun and Arun were both starving, so they decided to head downstairs to find something to eat. Sweta insisted.
Let's go together. I don't trust this hotel.
Initially, they felt it wouldn't be a good idea because it was dark everywhere except their room, but after some deliberation, they all agreed and went in groups.
I will join you too. This hunger is gonna kill me soon. Let your grandfather sleep. He is so tired,
said the grandmother as she woke up. After using the washroom, the driver attempted to open the door, but it remained closed. Abruptly, he heard the sound of water falling into the tub. He slowly pivoted back, pulled back the shower curtain, and stared at the tub. He peered deeply into the tub and became lost in contemplation. Suddenly, the driver noticed an indistinct reflection in the tub's water and raised his head. There, he saw the most horrific thing in his life, a woman hanging from the wall, covered in blood. The driver's heart began to pound so hard that he was scared of his own heartbeat. He felt his spine tingle as cool air swirled around him and a spooky noise surrounded him. His eyes started to tear up even though he didn't understand what was happening. It was hard for him to determine if it was the suddenness or the woman that terrified him more. Then his mind caught up to the situation. He understood that he might not survive. He felt utterly powerless, the same feeling one would have when thrown from a 5-story building. He felt helpless. The driver was so badly terrified that he didn't even realize the woman had disappeared in an instant. He believed it was a bad dream and took steps back toward the door. As he moved, the woman suddenly appeared in front of the door. She grabbed his head so hard that it would have popped if she used any more force. He observed a spooky smile between the gaps in her hair that hid her face. She started to rip his hair out with sheer force. The driver began to yell, but his voice stayed within the restroom. Even he understood that within seconds, he was going to die. The driver begged for his life to be spared and vowed never to use a restroom again. She stopped smiling and smacked his head with both of her fists. His head detonated like a bomb. Splatters of blood covered the entire wall, making it look like a room freshly painted with red. He was spot dead. The sound of the blast from the restroom echoed throughout the hotel. Everyone who had gone in search of food dashed towards the room as soon as they heard the terrible booming sound. Grandfather woke up from his slumber. The frightening noises caused the kids to wake up as well, and they started wailing. Lakshmi gathered all the kids and left the room in an attempt to soothe them, but the children never stopped sobbing. When the group members who had gone to look for food returned, they found Lakshmi outside the room with the kids. They began questioning what had happened and tried to comfort the children. The grandmother turned to face the room while grandfather stood up and headed for the restroom. He hastily opened the door and the rest of the family watched from outside the room. Grandfather yelled in response to the sight. Arjun and Arun attempted to dash in, but the room door locked on its own. Panic struck all of them. Although Arun and Arjun kept banging on the doors, their efforts were in vain. They tried to open it with brute force, but got nothing from it. The children were crying. Lakshmi and Sweta tried to calm their children by covering their mouths, probably scared that something might also hurt them. Screams were coming from inside. They were all scared to death, tears pouring, men sweating with stress on their faces. Then, all of a sudden, the door to the room unlocked. In their entire lives, they had never seen a moment as terrifying as this one. Sweta and Lakshmi immediately covered their children's eyes. Grandfather was naked, obviously dead, and covered in deep scratches all over his body, so deep that they could see his bones. He appeared to have been eaten by a person. His hair was torn along with his skin, with one of his eyes popped out and half-eaten. His neck was so badly eaten that there was no muscle left, just a bone holding the body intact. No one could have anticipated such a frightening scene. Grandmother remained silent, unable to express her disbelief. She couldn't even cry. Everyone was terrified and puzzled, and they all felt emotionless. The horrific scenes brought more fear in them than humanity and their emotions. With tears in her eyes, Sweta exclaimed. Let's take Uncle with us too and run from here. His soul deserves a peaceful rest as an end. Arun furiously moved towards the restroom to check on the driver. Arun found it difficult to breathe after witnessing the visuals in the restroom due to his asthma. Arjun handed over his inhaler. Arjun then noticed that the room was completely covered in blood. Driver with no head, Arjun cried out loud. He was so stressed that he couldn't hold it anymore. He was shouting random nonsense, worrying that they all would die, and he didn't want that to happen. Arjun closed the room door and stated, It would not be wise to remain here. Let's try to get out of this hotel and then decide what to do. I have a really horrible feeling about this place right now. They were unable to control their tears, but they felt that Arjun's advice was the only correct one. They all ran for the exit as if there was no tomorrow. Using the torchlights, they all arrived at the reception area. It was still quite dark. In an attempt to exit the hotel, Arun tried to open the glass doors, but they were too hard for him to push or pull. Using a metal chair from the reception area, Arjun tried to smash through the glass doors, but his attempt failed. It appeared that the doors were indestructible. On the street in front of the hotel, Sweta noticed a car going by. That car stopped suddenly. Sweta began to cry out for rescue. Unexpectedly, a massive thunderstorm hit a tree near the hotel, causing it to erupt into massive flames. Everybody was terrified. Gautam and Thomas were in the car. After glancing over the hotel, Thomas explained the circumstances to Gautam, saying, A joint family, a driver. A total of 10 members are about to die in this hotel today. One of the ghosts that were released took control of this hotel. The ghost appears powerful and hungry. Gautam and Thomas were in the car. After glancing over the hotel, Thomas explained the circumstances to Gautam, saying,
A joint family, a driver. A total of 10 members are about to die in this hotel today. One of the ghosts that were released took control of this hotel. The ghost appears powerful and hungry.
Gautam reacts? Then why wait? We should try capturing this one first. A family is in danger. There may be children who are unaware of this world. Thomas answers,
There is nothing we can do. This ghost is out of our league. If we go inside, it will just add us to the spirit's victim list. Solving the total issue is crucial. Trying to capture a small spirit only buys time for the big ones. I feel sorry too, but there's nothing we can do to stop it.
The thunder strikes the tree, setting it ablaze. Gotham and Thomas wanted to help, but the possibilities were near zero. They simply prayed to God that the family might somehow escape from the ghosts. Sweeta saw them leaving and was disgusted. She questioned if they were humans and whether they had any empathy for her children for leaving without trying to help. Any way out. After seeing her husband's corpse, Grandma couldn't hold her tears anymore. Lakshmi and Sweeta were trying their best to comfort her. Arjun thought that the building, having 4 floors, might have some safety measures that could help them escape. In search of hope, Arjun and Arun decided to go up. They asked the others, "Please stay here and watch each other's backs until we find something useful to get us out of here." In disagreement, Sweeta cried. Arun replied, "Mom can't climb 4 floors, and the kids can't handle it anymore. Try to accept this reality." After a few conversations, they eventually reached a consensus. Arjun and Arun were mounting the stairs. They were furiously mounting the stairs. They were furiously mounting the stairs. They were furiously mounting the stairs. They felt like they had walked at least 15 floors. Arjun advised Arun to stay where he was, and Arjun decided to walk ahead to the next floor. To his surprise, he found Arun again. Arun responds, "You went up, right? Or am I missing anything?" In response, Arjun says, "Let me try one more time." Fearfully, Arjun descends the stairs, but he reaches the same spot and runs into Arun once more. They both horrifically realize that they were trapped in a loop of stairs. "It's bloody up, man, this situation. We can't go anywhere," Arjun screamed in terror. Arun tried to assure him, "At this time we need to stay calm and try to break this loop." They started to think about all the possibilities to break out of it. They tried jumping out, going downstairs, and even attempting to break a step, but all their efforts failed. Suddenly, Arjun found an attic door in front of them. Arjun approached it for a better look because the shadow in the attic looked like Sweeta. He thought he had finally rejoined his family, but as he got closer, he realized the shadow, although human-like, was actually the woman covered in blood. Within seconds, before Arjun could scream, he vanished, dragged away by the terrifying figure. Arun was horrified. He tried to yell for help, hoping someone would come to his rescue, but it was in vain. Overwhelmed with fear, he ran into a dark room in fear of the ghost, where he just sat in a corner, waiting for things to unfold on their own. The room was congested and filled with spiderwebs. After a long delay, the children began crying even more for their fathers. Lakshmi couldn't hold it any longer and decided to take matters into her own hands and try to climb the stairs. As she prepared, Dev asked what time it was. Swetha glanced at the wall and said, "It's 12. Wait a second, how on earth can it be 12? We arrived at the hotel at that time. Maybe the clock is not working." Lakshmi decided to check again and was surprised to find that it was indeed 12. It's still midnight. It was also midnight when I checked my phone when we got here. Maybe time has stopped here, or I just don't know what I'm actually talking about. Everything seems off. Sweeta responded,
Maybe, but we don't have time to sit and complain about what's happening here. We need to find some sort of solution.
Out of nowhere, piano music could be heard from above. They reasoned that perhaps Arjun and Arun were sending signals to come upstairs since mobile signals were not functioning well. Sweeta was unsure if her aunt-grandmother could climb due to her old age. In response, grandmother replied,
I'm not that old. I'll come no matter what.
Sweeta assisted her in mounting the steps while Lakshmi cared for the 3 children. After ascending 2 floors, they heard the piano music once again. Sweeta pondered, aren't they supposed to be on the top floor? What keeps them on the 2nd floor? That doesn't make sense. Lakshmi urged the children to wait while she surveyed the floor, leaving them in Swetha's care. She then departed. She was gone for a whole 30 minutes. Swetha began to feel tense. Everybody took a few steps together. They then felt a massive, indistinct, and dark object in front of them. Assuming they couldn't be seen and could stay safe for a while due to the events surrounding them, they moved in the dark without a torchlight. They switched on the torchlight to see what was in front of them, but the torch was flickering. In those flickers, they observed a rusty, abandoned throne covered in dust and on the verge of collapse. The flickering eventually stopped and the torch resumed functioning. They spotted Lakshmi sitting in that chair. Her wet hair covered her face, giving her an eerie appearance. But they recognized her from the outfit and the small gaps between her hair. Swetha asked,
What happened? What's all this? You need to be in search of them.
Lakshmi began to make unsettling noises. Swetha then noticed that her legs were backward. Swetha was terrified beyond belief. It dawned on her that all of these deeds were clearly pointing to the presence of ghosts. She insisted to everyone that the Lakshmi seated in the chair wasn't indeed Lakshmi, and that perhaps a ghost had taken possession of her. She told her aunt, grandmother, to run despite knowing she couldn't run for long. She grabbed the kids, and with her aunt, they all began running. They all took off running. Then Lakshmi, the possessed ghost, began following them, still sitting in that chair. After running for their lives, they managed to find a room. They entered the dimly lit room, but Swetha's daughter, Ayodhya, and Dev were snatched by the ghost. The door shut behind them as soon as they entered. Swetha was heartbroken. She was terrified and sad at the same time. With a slow gaze, they scanned the room using a torch in an attempt to locate her daughter and Dev. Then they noticed a presence of an aura in the corner. They all screamed out of fear. There was another scream from that side of the corner too. In fear, they aimed the torch right towards the corner where they heard a scream. It was Arun. Swetha was relieved to see Arun alive and gave him a hug. She inquired about Arjun. Arun gave a detailed explanation. Swetha clarified everything as well. They both gave up all hope. Grandmother was in tears too. Swetha consoled her, saying,
We definitely need to escape from this hell. I noticed before entering into this hotel that there is a cellar. From there, I believe we can find a way out. Let's hope it will get us out.
All of them held each other's hands and made their way towards the cellar. As soon as they reached the cellar, they observed something being written on the wall in blood, even though no one was writing it. The message read, "You're all gonna die now." Swetha understood it was the ghost trying to kill more of them and cried out even more.
Why are you killing us? What have we ever done to you? Please leave us alone. We won't bother you. Please.
She begged. They all heard eerie laughter around the room while the wall displayed another message. Even though it has happened thousands of times, the smell of fear feels too fresh to ignore. None of you people are going out alive. Swetha, in desperation and terror, replied,
You could take our lives, but these kids are so innocent. They are unaware of the outside world.
The wall responded,
The younger, the fresher the blood. You wouldn't understand a thing at all.
You psychopathic.
yelled Swetha. She began to run from the cellar with everyone, but suddenly there was the sound of a car approaching. The car sped towards them, and they attempted to dodge it. In an effort to save Arun got hit by the car. The car had no driver. The vehicle reversed and came back at the same speed, running over Arun's head. Like a lemon under a tire, his head was crushed. He was spot dead. Swetha paused her run and dropped to her knees. Arav's grandmother stopped him as he attempted to approach his father's body. Swetha seemed hopeless, and all her energy drained as she looked at her husband's lifeless body. She wanted to cry out loud, but was unable to. All his memories began to flood her mind, overwhelming her. Grandmother, too, lost hope and energy. She addressed Swetha, saying,
You and Arav leave immediately. I can't run, and because of me, you could lose your life. Hey, listen. You have a child now. Protect him, or else a run sacrifice will be meaningless.
Swetha responded.
I can't. Everyone I love, they are leaving me one by one. There is no guarantee we can escape. Things won't be the same as they were, even if we manage to escape. The story has changed. We shouldn't have gone on this trip.
Grandmother reacted.
There's no time for this. If you want to cry, cry after you leave this hotel.
Swetha shouted.
I hate you, God. I hate you. This journey started to worship you, and this is what we get in return? But remember, you are a psychopath who feeds on humans, on innocent lives. There's nothing different between you and a ghost. I declare that whatever it takes, I will meet you never.
Swetha added.
No matter what, I'm taking you too from this ghost house.
And grabbed her grandmother's hand. Grandmother forcefully pulled her hand away and ran in the opposite direction. Swetha had no choice and no time to stop. Without pausing, she ran with Arav towards the shutter. As she ran, she looked back and saw her aunt, grandmother, hurrying in the opposite direction. A 5-foot-long, enormous knife split grandmother in half vertically. Shutting Arav's eyes, Swetha dashed forward, desperately trying to pry open the shutter. It started to open, but agonizingly slowly. Darkness and rain loomed outside, with the burning tree casting eerie shadows. She took one step outside. Arav was suddenly grabbed by a spectral hand. Swetha held on tightly, pulling with all her strength. Arav cried out in pain as the force intensified. Despite Swetha's desperate efforts, Arav was torn in half, his body split with horrifying ease. Arav is ripped to pieces, with half of his body in Swetha's grasp. Swetha, covered in her son's blood, stood frozen, unable to comprehend the horror. The scene was beyond terrifying. Swetha, the only one to escape the hotel alive, had lost everything. Her mind seemed to shut down, and she didn't even cry. She walked aimlessly before sitting on the steps in front of the glass door. She sat peacefully, unflinching, despite the thunder, burning tree, and torrential rain. She sat there motionless, drenched in blood, appearing as if she were dead. After a while, she began to observe the spirit, its form becoming clearer with each passing second. As she was dying, she realized something. Just then, she heard the sound of a vehicle. It was her own minivan approaching the hotel. It was her joint family, the very same one she had come to the hotel with at the beginning of the story. Swetha rushed to them, throwing a rock in a desperate attempt to warn them away, but it only hit the headlight, prompting them to move towards the hotel. She even tried to stop them by talking, but no one in the van could hear her. She tried every possible way to stop them from entering the hotel. Swetha's horror deepened. She realized that she was the spirit, the very one that had killed her family. Her memories slowly started fading, and she became the ghost that killed the entire family until now. She was out of her control, and back then, when she stared at the ghostly figure, she saw her own face staring back. After killing the whole family, the story again refreshes from the beginning. She understood that she was trapped in a never-ending loop, doomed to kill her loved ones every night as a ghost. With this realization, Swetha accepted her fate. She embraced her role as the ghost, knowing she would continue to kill her family endlessly, a tragic spirit bound to her horrifying destiny. The story ends. Is it? Only a fragment of the tale is complete. The saga continues. The hotel was merely one chapter, illustrating the ferocity of ghosts when they lose their memory and the purpose of their existence. This realm is now overflowing with restless spirits, unleashed and unrestrained. If this is the path we tread, nothing will stand against them. Gotham and Thomas arrive at a sacred sanctuary, a place forbidden to ghosts. Stepping out of the vehicle, Gotham mutters, "We shouldn't have left them." And when you said that Ghost was out of our league, what did you mean? Thomas, his voice heavy with dread, explains that place is cursed with endless loops. Every night, the same horrors replay, like a sinister cycle. The cruel twist is that the ghost is a tormented family member. Dying in ignorance might be bearable, but this spirit is painfully aware, forced to murder their own kin repeatedly. The agony is unimaginable. If we had intervened, we too would be trapped in that eternal nightmare. Bro, we are out of time. Let's meet my father first. Thomas's father, a renowned ghost hunter, resides closer to the divine in this sanctum, where ghosts dare not tread. Their lineage, it is said, possesses the gift of seeing spirits. They sprint towards the hallowed meditation chamber, desperate for answers. But upon arrival, horror awaits them. Thomas's father lies dead, his body twisted in a grotesque tableau. Carved into his forehead are the chilling words, "The days of the devil have begun. Soon you will beg for death." Gotham and Thomas exchange a look of sheer terror, realizing the gravity of their plight. "We are finished," they whisper in unison, their voices trembling with fear. The nightmare had only just begun.